we're back right here in the studio, and our guest tonight, we have with us Ana Marie Gonzalez Landeta, and she is a life coach and consultant in the field of personal development. And Ana, maybe you could tell our audience a little bit about some of the firms, organizations, companies that you've worked with, please.
Well, I had an early start when I was in Mexico, but you're very familiar with that brand. And I know the engineer of it. He's literally an engineer, and he created Kitsania. He's a Mexican.
Okay.
And we started early in the consultancy, as I was mentioning, because he had the idea to expand. And back then, I'm talking about 2008, so imagine. He wanted, of course, to grow and be in other countries and bring this joy to kids, and his concept, which is very rich. Look at what it is now. Now it's also in the Middle East.
Taken off, yeah.
Yeah. And then other companies are in the field of chemicals, also in the food industry. You know, in Kuwait, everything somehow
revolves around food.
Yeah. As we say, you know, I learned this in Arabic. Let me try my Arabic.
Okay.
Kulo al toro toadi el aroma.
Okay, yes,
so,
there you go.
In Kuwait, somehow, you always go to food, right?
There, yes.
Yeah. So also in the food marketing, we're doing some projects there. And in the chemical business, I have a company in Kuwait and another one in Abu Dhabi. And then for the fast-moving consuming goods as well. So you see, it's very vast and it varies.
You're doing a juggling act. It's a lot of different hats there.
That's true. And of course, the other side, the coaching that is more life coaching, which I've been more exposed towards, like some of my clients or my coaches, as I call them. It's not a clients, you know, because you do have this personal relationship somehow. Has become personal indeed because of that. So they are, most of the times, they are struggling to figure it out what they want to do and how to do it. For example, like shifting into another job, how can they get a raise, or these little things that they don't know how to approach their managers. So it goes into that side, which is very interesting as well.
And you find them receptive to being taught or being informed of new techniques and so forth?
Definitely. I mean, you do follow a sort of technique, which you have like a sort of a manual or a forum, but then once you know what it is, it's not like you have to follow it through, you know. But it starts like just normal chit chat, and then you start finding out things through specific questions that you trigger, and then from then on, it becomes a coaching session. It's very interesting. I really like it.
Anna, we have some pictures there on the monitor. Can you tell us who are in this and what we're taking a look at, please?
Yeah, that's when I was working for CNBC Business, and that's the report we did on Kuwait on the celebrations back in the 50th celebration, 25th and 5th. And that's the Mr. Sami Al-Rashid from KOC, former chairman. Well, he's not there anymore.
Yes, he's left now,
Yeah. Oh, yes, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Ahmed Al-Sabah, and then the whole team. I think, to be honest, because we met the minister as well, it was amazing. I think one of the best interviews I've done, which is funny. Back then, I was in the other side of the interview, and now I'm on the other side.
Now you're being interviewed.
Yeah. Oh, my God, yeah. Yeah, that's the governor of Ahmedis, that was amazing as well, because we learned, you know, as soon as we came to Kuwait, we had to learn everything about the economy, everything about what was happening, and be acquainted with each of the persons that we were missing. And of course, with each one, of course, Sheikh Duwaish is a very close to our hearts as well. We learn a lot from Kuwait. And
very kind and intelligent man.
Definitely.
Also.
And we see him several times as well in different events that we are having. He comes as an official. Well, this one is the Dutch business group that we have, and it's very curious
in collaboration with the Dutch Embassy here.
With the Dutch Embassy and His Excellency Nicolas Bates, our ambassador, and he's very supportive of all the work that we're doing. So as you see, I'm the only Dutch lady entrepreneur in Kuwait.
Well, it's nice to have you here and collaborating and doing business between Kuwait and Holland. And what are we taking a look at here, Anna?
This one was of I do my own custom-made seminars. They were struggling with having more creative and innovative approach in this company in specific. So that was the creative innovation seminar I delivered. Nice.
Excellent. Yeah, nice colors and.
Yeah.
And do you find that the people that you're giving these teaching and so forth, do you find them what may be lacking? What are some of the things that you need to work with them more on as we're taking a look at the pictures also?
Yeah, you know what happens most of the times? They know their ideas, they know what they want to do, but somehow there is no bridge between the way they communicate and where they want to be. So sometimes it's almost the easiest thing that you might think of. How come communicating is just the easiest thing? But indeed, that's the big approach that I think they don't.
Yeah,
they
sometimes
don't
people may say things, but they don't really know how to communicate it effectively.
Or they don't, or sometimes they fall into just the typical trap of miscommunicating, and then they start having conflict. And that's also one thing. That's another seminar I deliver as well. Critical conversations. You know, how to
Tell us more about that. What's that about?
Well, the critical conversation has to do with when you have to take decisions in a fast way, when the stakes are high, and when a lot of things are happening at the same time. And what do you tackle first? How do you actually make that communication happen? And sometimes it has to do also with the way you give or provide feedback. And so people sometimes, again, they don't know exactly how to approach depending on the specific task that is at hand. So that was a very interesting seminar as well.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about the life coaching that you do, and some more about in detail about the workshops and conferences that you have also.
Okay, well, in the coaching, you might have heard of Raha Muharraq.
Okay.
She's the first Saudi lady who climbed the Everest.
Yes.
So you can imagine when I was in Saudi, she came to me, she was like, Anna, I have a big problem. I was like, what is the problem? I want to get to all the 7 summits of the world, because she not only climbed that one. And the biggest problem was like, how am I going to communicate this to my father? You know, Baba is not going to allow, and Saudi culture, and then you go into all these things. So again, what I was just explaining before, if you're acquainted with the culture, the way that people move around, how do they communicate to the parents, the respect, the family ties, you know, all of this, then little by little we started to make a business plan, can you imagine, of how we could actually approach each one of the things. So the first thing was, of course, ask for the permission of the family, because it was not only Baba, but then it was the mom as well. And then how you find sponsorship. So make a whole creative approach of how are you going to sell this huge dream that you have. And alhamdulillah, you see, she did it. It's an amazing accomplishment, and we were working on team as well. And I was there to support her in any step, even sometimes with phone calls, you know, like, I don't know if I will make it, because they go up, they go down, and then
Sure, yeah.
It was not, but I'm very proud of her. So this was one of the coachings I did for this amazing lady.
Yeah, that sounds like that was a great experience that you had
Definitely.
Bridging the gap, also the cultural gap. And how do you feel that as a woman, a Dutch-Mexican woman working in the Middle East, in the state of Kuwait, and
very good
how do
question.
you feel that you've adapted well, some of the different cultural norms and so forth? What can you say about that, please, Anna?
Well, after living almost 2 years in Saudi Arabia, I can tell you a lot.
Okay.
At this point, I can say I love my abayas. I do love my abayas, yeah. And I had a friend that she was a designer, so she would make the most beautiful abayas, beautiful colors, you can imagine. And, you know, I feel sometimes that I'm like a chameleon. You do adapt. It's amazing, thank God, how we are capable to absorb things and just be one of them.
But that's great that you can, because there's many people
True.
watching out now that
They
cannot adapt, and they just cannot get used to
I guess
different cultures. They're set in their ways.
True. I guess it's just to be open, to be perceptive. People give you also, I think it's like a mirror, you know, they give you what you give as well.
Sure.
If you are close and you are always criticizing and this is what is lacking and this is what they don't have. Exactly, a negative attitude, then that's what you'll get as well. So I always try to be positive, to inject positive energy as well, and to look at the bright side. Each country has its own charm. Each country has something to teach you, or something that you can actually learn from, and it's always about its people. That's the charm for me. And I always try to be open to that, to be exposed to welcome that experience. And that for me has been the biggest journey of all, cross-traveling about all these cultures, yeah.
So what are some common things that you've noticed between, let's say, Kuwait and your home countries?
Okay. let's then leave the Dutch aside, because there is almost nothing that you can actually relate, despite probably that the weekend is, for families and to enjoy. But with the Mexicans, of course, it's a different religion, but we're very attached to our traditions, whether it's cultural or religious. The respect is very high as well. So, because of course I've been more time of my life in Mexico than in the Netherlands, I can relate more also as well to Mexico. And you'll be surprised how common we are, Kuwaitis and Mexicans. Although we're so far away, we have so much in common. And that would be the love of food. Of course, as I was saying,
food is very tasty.
Mexican, very spicy as well. Of course, if you like it. Have you tried the new tacos that are here?
I've not tried that.
Solo tacos.
Okay.
You have to try them.
Tell us about that.
Well, it's from a friend of mine, also a Mexican. She's married to a Kuwaiti.
Okay.
And they are in Kuwait City. They've been also serving in Kut Market and different events as well.
Yes, right now excellent, very, very good tacos, very authentic too.
Oh well, so this was in Kut, but they have now a location that you can go that's in Kuwait City. And of course, like I was saying, our tradition, tortillas, good meat, sirloin, they serve that and it's amazing. You have to try the
right seasoning and spices.
Salsa, and onion and all of this. So that's the love of food that we have, and we gather there, we exchange experiences about Kuwait, then we cry because we miss, the tacos, but then you taste these ones and then you don't cry anymore because they're so good.
You feel a little close to home.
Indeed. So yeah, that's one thing. The family, of course. Here, I don't have my family, although I brought my mom last year.
Did she enjoy Kuwait, visiting it?
She loved it, you have no idea. Mubarakia was her favorite.
The whole market, yes.
They wanted to go back there. I took them to Failaka, everything I could. And so being apart or away from home makes you also open your arms, let's say, to people that welcome you in their houses here. And that has been for me amazing. So I have two lovely families here that I feel like part of them. The Al-Rashid, and of course, that's the husband of my friend. His family is amazing. And I feel like one of them sometimes. And it's funny because, at some point they were telling me or asking me if I was Bebehani because I have the face like a Bebehani.
Okay.
So it's funny, sometimes they tell me I'm Syrian, so I don't know which identity I have anymore.
You're blending in.
Yeah. That's what's happening, Tarek.
Okay, that's great to hear that. And now, a lot of people out there, their dreams is to, let's say, get a small business going, a small venture and so forth. What advice would you give them, and especially maybe having some people like that, let's say entrepreneurs who want to get started? What advice?
It pretty much depends on the field or on the industry that you want to then sell your business or get into. But I will highly advise that you do create your business plan. That you start by naming the things that you want to accomplish. That you start by, of course, the typical. I'm not gonna name now Philip Kotler, but the vision, the mission. Yes, this is part of it. But really, what do you want to accomplish with this business? Do you want to do good for people? Do you want to sell tons? Do you want to get into the next gadget for technology? So have your goal clear, and then what I would suggest, especially if you start by Kuwait, do a market research. Which are the competitors? What are they lacking? What are they now encountering? And then you might find also the main, like I always mention, the bullet points of what is your business going to be like.
Sure.
I would advise that, to make a business planning. And if they don't know, they can call me and I help them how to do a business plan.
Good tips there. And people can contact you if they look online. I'm sure there's many different avenues.
And in
social media and LinkedIn and so forth, so they could get a hold of you. And I know you also wrote a poem about Kuwait. That's very interesting. What inspired you to do that? And if you don't mind, after telling us that story, please tell us the poem.
Well, thank you. That's very. I'm very proud and very private thing. I write since I'm probably 15 years old, and it all has to do with my almost inner feelings. So when I'm moved for something, then is when I write. So this was in 2010, and I was leaving Kuwait, and I didn't know actually what was going to happen with my life. I didn't know if I was ever going to come back to Kuwait. And so I was so inspired and at the same time overwhelmed by leaving my friends, the social circles I created, the things I learned. And I really was missing Kuwait already without leaving. So that's when I wrote a little piece of my poem. You want me
Can you please read that for us? Yes,
of course.
Please.
I have it here because I don't know
Yes,
it by heart.
please.
Okay. I'm gonna just give you some parts of it.
Yes.
Kuwait to me is a country that invited me to look into my life, to observe, to have the time for introspection, to take a deep breath and embrace. Kuwait is a country of invitations. Kuwait is a country that invited me to stay. Kuwaiti people are people that enjoy life, people who are proud of their tradition, their culture, the richness of their past, and that past has brought them to this present, a rich present. And I am not only talking about their oil or their strong currency or their stable economy. I am talking about the richness in their spirit, the kindness in their heart, and the truth in their word. Also the strength in their soul. Kuwait is a country that gave me the chance to realize that life is a gift and we must make each day count. Kuwait reminded me again the real value of family and the meaning of it. To also like my friends who are my family here away from my home.
Very well said. That's very,
Thank you.
very touching, and we really thank you so much for joining us right here on Hala Kuwait.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. All the best to Kuwait as well.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having Ana Maria Gonzalez Landeta, a life coach and consultant in the field of personal development right here on Hala Kuwait, and we wish her all the best of luck in her future endeavors. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's episode of Hala Kuwait.